Hi, and welcome to today's video where I will be talking about communication challenges within project management. As you know, as a project manager, that there are constant needs to keep your communication to a high standard to ensure successful project delivery. In this video, what I'm going to be covering really basically understanding some of the basic barriers of communication, types of some of the challenges that you face when communicating, a few strategies and tools and techniques, and then really what role the project manager plays in fostering good communication. So without delay, let's crack on with the video. So firstly, is understanding communication. So as a project manager, communication is really, really key as part of your everyday project delivery. Without communication, you won't be able to articulate what messages you need to make sure, or what activities that need to get done. And you don't have the ability to really, without communication, to get your project moving in the right direction, which is really, really key. Uh, and it's really, it's really important to say why communication matters, because with effective communication, your project will move in the right direction. With the incorrect communication methods, you will get the wrong message. People have degree of ambiguity. Ambiguity creates uncertainty. Uncertainty therefore means that you are leading people to guess what needs to be done, which is not what you want to do as part of your projects. So really, understanding your communication barriers are really key. There are, big things such as people, uh, you know, time zones, um, people's ability to use visual aids. Some are very good, some are bad. Teams calls, some like calls, some don't. Email communications, some like verbal. Making sure that you don't put too much information. So those are all things that will either create barriers or progress your communication. So really, what are some of the types of challenges that you, within any project field, would face when it comes to communication? So the first one is technical jargon and misunderstanding. As a project manager, if you're in, I'm an IT project manager. If I try to deliver a project which required legal requirements, I would probably not understand the legal jargons and articulate that completely wrong. Same again in IT, you're going to make sure that you've got the understanding of what you're trying to articulate and understand that you are jargon busting it so it's in simple English so that people understand it. And obviously, I've been doing IT for a long time, so therefore I can understand the bare basics. I'm no expert. I'm not like the engineers who know their details inside out, but I know enough to make sure that I can translate what a technical person into simple language that somebody of a senior stakeholder could understand, and that's the key. The other challenges you'll face is really cultural and language differences. If you're working in different time zones, which I have done in the past, sometimes you do have, very strong accents. You do have language barriers. Some people don't speak English, and that's just part of the course. You have to be able to articulate and use tools to your advantage to help you do that communication. Now, with language barriers, we are fortunate that a majority of the world speak English, but where they don't, there are tools such as Google Translate, etc. So there's real effective tools that they can help you move that forward. Um, Remote working and virtual communication, again, that's another one. A lot of people have adapted well to remote working. Now, I've spent nearly 30 years working remotely or within offices, so I'm very much used to that. But there are people out there who do struggle with that and find working remotely a difficult one. So making sure that you engage those people, making sure that you've actually discussed it and understand how you get them to bring them to the table, shall we say, virtual table, shall I say, is really, really difficult. Another one of the challenges you get is your stakeholder misalignment. You are, potentially your stakeholders are not getting the right information at the right time, and what information you're feeding them is not sufficient, etc. So these are some of the key challenges you will face, and those are not just at the beginning or start of your project. These are throughout your whole project, and you have to keep adapting. So some of the strategies you could use for good communication and to make sure that you can, overcome some of these barriers. Firstly, be clear and use simple language. Try not to be too clever on your emails, your communication, keep it simple. And that's kind of my motto. Really keep it simple. If I can understand it, then in essence, the colleagues around me can understand it. And it's really, really key that you keep it simple and you keep it precise. Secondly, use visual aids, tools, PowerPoint presentations, etc., to articulate the message in a more visual perspective. Where some people are, I mean, I prefer visual aids. I'm able to absorb information better that way, in small snippets rather than lots and lots of information together. So using like PowerPoint presentations, diagrams, etc., whatever that is, I prefer that. And I find that with, if you have a team that's international, visual aids are really, really good because it's a good reference material. It's good to go back, and people then can go back and say, oh, okay, that made sense, that didn't, etc. The other thing you should do as strategy is regular feedback loops and check-ins. Whether you're doing stand-up, whether you're doing critical path method, whatever you may be doing, make sure you are checking in with your team on a regular basis and keeping that communication flow moving. As the project evolves, you have to keep that communication changing every time to meet the project requirements. But by engaging in regular, you're not having to have lengthy meetings. You can have short bursts of information, which then allows people to get on with the work with a clear strategy of how to move forward, or at least a clear understanding of how to move forward, which is really, really good. As a project manager, another thing is you got to be culturally sensitive to your environment. You have to understand and read your people. You should be able to engage people around you so that you understand that if they don't understand what you're saying, and you're able to catch that, reach out, be someone that they want you to come, that they feel comfortable talking to. Don't be the person where you close the door on someone. As a project manager, you have to be approachable. If you've got that trait as an individual, that is a really big win, and that will really help you with overcoming some of your barriers, where people feel comfortable around you, and making sure that you can help them move your project forward. But don't forget, you are only as successful as the people around you. So if you're making them feel comfortable and you are approachable, you will be more successful in your delivery. So some of the tools and technologies that are out there now, there's loads of tools out there. So you've got obviously your email. Everybody uses that day in, day out. I've used WhatsApp groups, that where we communicate on the fly during cutovers, etc. I've used Teams messaging. I've used Zoom calls. There's loads of technology out there. There's you can have Kanban boards for your sprints, etc., so that people are clear with the communication. Have your I mean, if you used Trello in the past, there's tools that in there that you can use that will really give you the ability to leverage that communication and give you that information. But those are just the bare basic amount of tools that are out there. MS Project is another one which articulates a good plan. Lots of detail in there, but I would say it has the ability to summarize things. You can do your sprint planning on that. There's a whole raft of things where you can communicate that effectively. But I'm not going to go into too much detail because there is another video on that which I'll share. But ultimately, there are a huge number of tools out there that you should use to help you communicate effectively. So the final thing is really the role of project managers in fostering communication. Now, one of the things I'm a big advocate is that as a project manager, you are the go-to person. People should feel comfortable, should be able to come and talk to you, and you are the person that sets the clear expectations. You facilitate open dialogue, being approachable, creating a safe environment for questions. And I would say project manager, you should see it as a management role where you are fostering your team to deliver successfully. You should be a project manager where people can approach you openly, are not afraid to challenge you. Be open to challenges. If you are that type of person who doesn't like to be challenged, unfortunately, I will say your project will most likely fail, because the people around you are what are going to make you successful, and you've got to keep that in mind. You need to really foster that communication. You need to encourage people to come to you. You also need to take control in making sure you have the regular catch-ups, that you are constantly keeping the loop open with all your senior stakeholders, your engineers on the ground, or whoever they may be, but the people who are within your project is really, really key. So in summary, communication, as if you are a seasoned project manager, is really, really key. You've got to keep it open. It's got to be a regular part of your everyday routine as part of being a project manager, and communicating effectively. Is not sometimes, but is all the time going to help you move things forward. And sometimes, if you struggle as a PM, and one of my biggest pieces of advice, if you don't understand, don't try to pretend that you do. that will really set you up for failure. Remember, keep that communication channels open with everybody. Do that regular feedback with your team. Make sure that you are trying to, jargon bust all the technical information into plain, simple English. Make sure you are, have some empathy towards other people of different regions of the country, etc., and you work with them to understand how things work. And now with remote working and the virtual communication, you have to have a different approach. I would insist on having our video, the cameras on. I know a lot of people don't like it, but unfortunately, as a project manager, you can't read somebody's face or engage uh, their engagement or communication without really seeing their face, and that's really key. So again, hope that in summary, keep that communication keep your communication challenges open, keep your communication channels open with your stakeholders and your team. Also, make sure that you are, trying to break down that jargon. Keep your regular loop-ins with your senior stakeholders. Touch base on a regular basis. Be clear and keep it simple. And use visual aids to support your communication. I hope that was helpful, and thank you for listening.